Hi everyone, welcome back to Ethereum Update, and today I'm going to discuss some very, very important topics. Specifically, I'm going to discuss whether or not it's too late to invest in cryptos right now, whether it's too late to invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, any crypto right now, and I'm also going to address my investment strategies for 2018 in view of the recent events, specifically the passage of the GOP bill. So, with respect to talking about Bitcoin, I do not believe that it's too late to invest in Bitcoin. It's not too late to invest in Bitcoin. You guys can still invest in Bitcoin. And, I think that the best way to invest in Bitcoin right now is to scale in, to use what's called dollar cost averaging. Now, as I said before, I'm not an investment advisor, but I believe that if you still want to get involved in Bitcoin, I suggest you determine a time period over which you spend the same amount, maybe every week or every month, and just buy a little bit of Bitcoin, okay? And spread this out over that long time period that you have in mind. So let's say over the next 6 months, you want to get invested in Bitcoin. What I would suggest is then maybe every 2 weeks or every month, just buy a little bit of Bitcoin, okay? And then by the end of the 6 months, you'll have a pretty sizable position. So the advantage of buying in small increments on a fixed time period is that if Bitcoin jumps up and then you buy some at a really high price, maybe next month it'll come down and you'll buy maybe at a lower price, okay? So the fact of the matter is that when you buy in small increments rather than in large increments, you can avoid buying at the top, okay? You can avoid buying at the top highest price. Rather, you'll be buying at a variety of different prices, some low, some high, some in the middle, okay? So the advantage of dollar cost averaging is that ideally you will not just buy all of your Bitcoin at the high. Now, the disadvantage of dollar cost averaging is that you also won't be able to catch the lowest price, right? Because at some prices you'll buy at a low price, but at some prices you'll buy at a higher price, okay? So, in the end, I would just suggest buying little amounts in fixed dollar amounts over a long period of time in fixed intervals of time, okay? And basically, I want to share a quote by Jeff Bezos about why he wanted to start Amazon. So this is what he said. "I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that. But I knew the one thing I might regret is not ever having tried. I knew that would haunt me every day. And so when I thought about it that way, it was an incredibly easy decision." So to those of you who are still waiting on the sidelines, just watching Bitcoin rise, I would pose that question to yourself is, would you regret watching it go up just continually? Would you regret that more, or would you regret getting involved and maybe losing your investment? So that's a question that you have to answer yourself, okay, guys? As for myself, I started buying maybe around July time, I think. And at that time, Bitcoin, I think, was around 3,000, and then it went up to like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. And you know what, guys? I kept on buying at small increments. And, right now I've got a pretty sizable position, but it's only because, I bought little bits over a pretty long period of time, and it kept on going up. And now it's at, close to 11,000, guys. So, as I said before, you guys got to just think for yourself about which you would rather regret. Would you rather regret watching it keep on going up? Or would you rather regret the possible downside of getting in and then having it drop? Okay, so that's a question you'll have to answer for yourself. Okay, so with respect to the GOP tax bill, one of the major points is that it drops the 35% corporate tax rate to 20%. So it almost cuts the corporate tax rate in half, which is which is crazy. Crazy good for companies. So in view of this GOP tax bill, whether or not you agree with it or not, whether or not you agree with the Republicans or not, whether you hate the Republicans or not, doesn't matter. I believe that the passage of this GOP tax bill will cause us to have at least 6 months more of prosperity in 2018. And by prosperity, I mean stock prosperity. So as you guys know, I've talked about this in the past, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is at a record high, and you can see the chart for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're at record highs right now, and we are due for some sort of correction, okay? But, given that this tax bill just passed, and given that it really reduces the corporate tax rate, into an incredibly low rate, I believe that there's going to be at least 6 months of continued upward movement in the stock market in 2018. So at least January, February, March, April, May, June, okay? So this is my particular stock strategy. So this is my overall strategy. This is just my strategy that I used, but I think that maybe you guys can reference it and see how it might fit your strategy as well. So first of all, in my stock portfolio, I've got some long-term holds that I promised to myself to hold. Just like I promised myself to hold on to, Bitcoin for the long term, I also promised to myself that I would hold on to certain stocks, okay? And these include Tesla stock and Baba stock, which is Alibaba stock. I've been holding on to them a very, very long time, and I basically promised to myself that I would continue to hold on to them, regardless of what happens. And I promised I would buy the dips too. So with these long-term holds, I'm going to continue to commit to holding on to these long-term stocks. In my previous videos, I talked about the importance of making a commitment and sticking to your commitment, and not trying to jump off to a different investment just because your long-term hold looks bad temporarily. In my previous video, I suggested holding on to Bitcoin and not jumping to Bitcoin Cash. I suggested staying in Bitcoin because the habit of jumping off and trying to jump back on, I think that's a bad habit that one can develop. So I've got a few very limited long-term holds of Tesla and Alibaba stock, so I'm going to keep holding them because I made that commitment to myself. Number two, I'm going to keep my 401k money as is. I'm not going to mess with it because that's also supposed to be kind of for the long term, and you shouldn't jump in and out and try to actively trade your 401k, in my opinion. However, for stock holdings that are not in Tesla or Baba, that are not in my long-term holds, and also that are not in my 401k, I'm going to start selling. And I'm going to start selling 10% of that remaining balance each month starting in January 2018. So January 1st, 2018, I'm going to sell 10% of that remaining balance that is not in Tesla, Baba, and that is not in 401k. I'm going to start selling 10% of that. And February 1st, I'm going to sell 10%. March 1st, I'm going to sell 10%. April 1st, 10%. May 1st, 10%. And then by June 2018, I'm going to have about 60% of that remaining balance in cash. And by October, so, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, I will have 100% of that remaining balance in cash. So, as I said before, I believe that the GOP bill will cause us to have continued prosperity, at least for 6 months in 2018, if not for a little longer. But I still do believe that there is some sort of looming correction. So be careful, guys, okay? And lastly, for you guys invested in cryptocurrencies that are interested in cryptocurrencies, I'm going to, invest about 10% or 15% overall of my investments in cryptos. And for my allocation in cryptos, so far, these are kind of rough estimates. I've got about 2/3, 65% in Bitcoin, about 20% in Ethereum, and about 15% spread across XRP, Neo, IOTA, and I've got some status coin as well. So of the total worth, of the total amount of money I've got invested, I've got about 10 to 15% in cryptos, and of that crypto amount, I've got 65% in Bitcoin, 20% in Ether, and about 15% in XRP, Neo, IOTA, status coin. So this is my strategy, guys, for 2018. Also, this is my thoughts on whether or not you should buy Bitcoin. I think you should scale into Bitcoin, and I think that you should scale out of stocks as 2018 progresses. So please let me know what you guys think about this video. If you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to reply to all the comments that have been building up, and I'm going to try to reply to all of them. Okay, guys? So hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.